Today, we will explore the many curious cases and fascinating stories regarding inhabitants of the underworld, such as the reptilians, ant people, alien greys, cryptids, and ancient human ancestors. Hello, and welcome to this episode of Mysteries with a History, where you'll be taken on a wild ride into the unknown, the strange, and the mysterious. Like you, I have questions, and like you, I want answers. And with each episode together, we will peel away the layers to look for the truth. This is going to be a really fun episode for several reasons. One, we have Jimmy right backstage right now. We missed him last week, so this is going to be very interesting. But on top of that, let me just tell this to everyone. For all the shows that I do with Jimmy, I 99% of the time send him notes on the things that we're going to be covering. Not today. Today, it's going wild. We're going to see where it takes us today because we have very different things that we're going to be covering, him and I. And I just wanted to throw that out there. We're usually on the same wavelength, but today it's going to be a different ball game. So let me bring in my co-host, Jimmy Church of Faded Black Radio. Hi, Jimmy.
I muted myself. Hello, everyone. How you doing? And yeah, it's good to be back. Yeah, it was strange for me too, as well, to skip a week and to let everybody know. I had even told Cristina I'm going to be on the road, but I can jump in and say hello to everybody. She goes, "I got this, Church. I got this." Just
I was not going to add another layer of stress while this man is driving to do the show with me. I am not going to be responsible for your car accident.
It would have been fun. It would have been fun to do, and it would have been a challenge. But nonetheless, you're right. Safety first. A couple of things before we jump into this. Reptilians. So a couple of days ago, this is where I normally ask Cristina, where'd you come up with the idea for the show? And I think it was the universe, because a couple of days ago, I was watching a comedy special. And in the special, the comedian mentions reptilians in a joke. And the audience, and this is what normally, right? The audience was kind of like, do we laugh? Reptilians are real. You can't make fun of reptilians. It was weird. It was like this weird response from the audience, and I rather enjoyed it. And then speaking of underground cities and things, which we're going to jump into today, last week. Okay, so this is the deal with Cristina. She works her butt off. She's always working. She's always cranking out. She's always got stuff to do. She's always uppity. She's always cheery and just always working. So I call her. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. I call her. And this is how she answered the phone. Hello. And I was like, man, I think I dialed the wrong number. And I look at my phone and she goes, this is what she said to me. And I'm going to quote her. Church, I've been working for 28 hours. Click. I was like, what? What was that? What was that? Hello. And it was pretty funny. It was pretty funny. You work your tail off, and we really appreciate that. And for me, not to get the bright and cheery Cristina like that, there is a sense of reality just hit me, right? Okay. All right. She's human
like
too.
Plug from Monsters Inc. Number one. That's what I sound like to you, apparently, first thing in the morning. But he's right.
Church.
He was right next to me, and I was trashed from working 28 hours over the weekend.
Right.
Because Jimmy never calls me in the morning, so like I get it, and I'm like just broken, and he's like, Gomez, and I'm like, oh.
Church.
But apparently,
what time is it? Okay, so reptilians, dwarfs, right? The ant people living underground, and what could possibly be going on out there in the world. And I saw the poll. Everybody go and hit the poll. The numbers are heavily skewed. I'll tell everybody. I went straight up. Yeah, this is going on. What are the poll numbers right now?
So right now we have 156 votes, and the question is, do you think there are places around the world deep underground where aliens or NHIs have outposts? Right now, 67% say yes, 9% say no, 12% say yes, outposts and large populations, and 12% say undecided. That poll will be up until the very end of the live show, so please put in your votes because we will also read it at the very end as well to see what you have to say about that particular question. Jimmy, I want to throw this to you. Where should we start off first? Because as I had mentioned to everyone today, this is the first time in a very long time I have not sent you notes.
Right.
So,
Well, you didn't need to, because after that phone call last week, I realized that you were living underground, and that's where the idea for the show came from, right? What brings this up this week?
you make me laugh, Jimmy.
I
This is actually,
I told you before the show I was coming prepared.
you did. You definitely did. And it kind of actually it goes back to like actually I really want to go caving. That's really what it boils down to. I want to go caving at some point, and I'd like to know what's down there. So this is actually a prepper show for me. I'm being selfish here because I want to know what's actually deep underground. But also, there's a lot of fascinating stories involved with this. But that's kind of what sparked today's show, is just caving.
Have you done that? Spelunking? Have you gone underground?
No, I can
Y-
barely even run like a lap,
Okay,
like a quarter of a mile. But I'm excited for it. But I do need to
it's
train for sure.
it's an experience, and if you have any issues with claustrophobia or anything like that, they are going to bubble to the surface. But the amount of underground cities, ancient, around the world is extraordinary. And even taking it a step further, if you look at, which I have done, if you look at the amount of underground cities right now in modern times that are inhabited and being built and expanded around the world, I would say just about every single country has them. And in the United States, there are hundreds. Every country in the world has modern cities underground. And that's crazy, but it's not a new phenomenon. This has been going on for a very long time. And when you look at the mythology and the folklore behind it, and then the evidence of these underground cities and networks, it's crazy, and some of them are ginormous, huge. Um, some are taking advantage of existing cave systems and they expand into it. Now, this goes back, 100,000 years longer. But some are completely man-made and dug and constructed thousands of years ago. And it's fascinating when you jump into this and look at it. And some of it's really, 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 really nice. A little fun fact, little side note, and then we're going to jump into this. Growing up, I had a friend in high school that I became roommates with later. His name's Bruce Pfeiffer. And Bruce, his dad had a cave house, like for real. Now, and this was when I was a kid, and I remember him telling me about it. And I was like, I'm trying to picture in my mind, what's he dug into the side of this hill and he built his house. Really? So I finally got to visit it, and I went, and it was unbelievable. And now it was a cave. He dug it out. But on the inside, the walls, you wouldn't know really that you were in a cave because everything was modern on the inside. but no heating, no air conditioning. It was one temperature all year long. And that was my first experience with it. Now, the front of the house had windows. Everything else, you've got no windows. It's a cave. But it seemed very normal to me. It didn't have anything strange. I thought it was very, very cool. And this idea of living underground is part of us. It's part of us. And I just think it's one of the most intriguing subjects that we can jump into. So let's do that. Where do I want to start? I think the obvious is the Ant people and the Hopi. And one of the reasons why I want to kind of go there first is the Ant people and the Hopi traditions of it, which I'm going to get into in just a second. It's not just in North America. Okay, now I'm going to get to that in just a second. But according to Hopi mythology, the Ant people, or the Anusinum, are believed to be an ancient and advanced civilization that once coexisted with the Hopi tribe during a time of great turmoil. As the story goes, the Hopi face impending cataclysmic events, including stuff like droughts and famine and natural disasters and maybe cosmic disasters as well that threaten the Hopi existence. So when they needed stuff, the Ant people extended a helping hand to the Hopi. And legend has it that the Ant people guided the tribe to underground sanctuaries, providing shelter and food until the surface world became habitable once again. Now, isn't that intriguing? This assistance from the Ant people is said to have saved the Hopi from extinction, giving the Hopi a sense of gratitude. They were thankful and they revered these mysterious beings. And there are depictions of them. And thank you for posting this image here around North America. And now, is there truth to this? And I always say, Cristina, where there's smoke, there's fire. And now, when you go and you look into the ideas and the mythology behind Ant people, then you have, are you ready? The Myrmidons. And the Myrmidons were Ant people that lived on the island of Aegina in Greece. Okay? Now, and when you look at the stories behind this and you look at the different Greek writers that wrote about this and made this part of their storytelling, they said, now, listen to me, everybody, listen really closely. Myrmidon and its etymology ties into robots. And as a matter of fact, Myrmidon was used in place of the word robot until recently. And in that mythology, in Greek mythology, says that the Myrmidons were Ant people robots who lived underground. Now, and you have to think about this. We're going back thousands of years. And you go and you read these different Greek writers and philosophers that wrote about the Myrmidons and who they were and how they fought in battle. They wore armor. They lived underground, and it's like nuts. It's very, very similar to the Hopi traditions on this. And I just don't think it's coincidence.
No, when we look at ancient legends, stories, cultures across the globe, there's always this level of consistency. And to be able to hear from the Hopi and from the ones in Greece, we can even look at the Cherokee people as well. They do have cases and stories of those that live underground, some that save the tribe, and sometimes when they terrorize the tribe. Before we continue, I do want to say a big thank you to No Filter and W Decker. Don't be a deep underground military base. Hit that like button. Thank you. Thank you,
Right
Decker.
on.
And Android says, I went to Lurie Caverns in Virginia and they found a Native American skeleton there. And there are so many caves in Appalachia. Highly recommend. Hold on to that thought, Android, because we're actually going to talk about that in just a moment. And Jessica, thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate it. And just by the way, super chat, super stickers really do help support the channel. And if you have any questions, it's a lot easier to see. But I want to say thank you to absolutely everyone catching this show live and hitting that like button as well. So, talking about Appalachia and the Appalachian Mountains, to go off of Android's comment, the Cherokee people have this very rich oral tradition. And I want to share an image here of these kinds of small goblin type entities that live within the mountain in their own remote cave systems, known as the Yunwi, or just as little people, and they're believed to be like knee high as an adult, these entities at least, and they are portrayed having very long hair, wearing traditional Cherokee clothing, and they also possess exceptional skills in hunting, healing, and crafting. Jimmy, so many times we've heard of goblins and little people like this. The Pukwudgie is a fantastic example, leprechauns as well. And when we're looking at Appalachia and the Cherokee sharing these stories across hundreds of years throughout the generations, it's very interesting to hear. And with these little people, as it's described according to the Cherokee at least, is that they do have these kinds of healing abilities and they can bring good fortune if and only if you treat them with respect. Now, there have been some other cases across the world. Peru is a good example of this, where miners are entering a cave, taking out iron and all of these other different types of minerals. And when they encounter these creatures living in the cave systems, they actually terrorize the miners or any of the visitors in the area, or do a more mischievous type of trading, which can be very scary. So, in order to receive knowledge on where gold is or iron, they would need to trade something, but it's usually at a pretty significant cost. Here, the Cherokee place these entities in a better limelight than other cultures across the world. And the big question here is, Jimmy, when we look at all of these different countries, all of these different cultures, why is it usually small humanoid type entities that are living in these areas?
Okay. Now, we have the folklore part of this, and then we have the science side of this, right? And so, yes, Lord of the Rings, the hobbits, the dwarves, and the elves living underground, and the mines of Moria, and we have these great stories, and they're fascinating. And then all of the sudden, out of nowhere, about 5 years ago, they found a new human species in the Asian Pacific on an island. It's called hobbits. Right, and that existed. Now, the genome and the DNA is isolated to this area. But who is to say that they didn't populate the world and they weren't in other countries and other areas and of course living underground and fit the description of all of the cultures that have talked about this over the years? That's the part that fascinates me the most, Cristina, is we can have the conversation and we can let our imagination run, and it is fun. But then when science comes in and goes, hold on a minute, right? There's something more to this. Then you have to go back and look at these different stories and the mythology. Remember, storytelling before writing, storytelling is what separates humans from everything else. We have the ability to exchange ideas and share information. And you have to go back and go, well, we thought that it was, made up, and we're trying to separate the truth from the myth, when maybe they were talking about something that was real and something that they actually encountered. That's the part of this, when you bring in science, that makes it even more compelling.
It definitely does. And it seems that science is now only beginning to catch up with stories and information that has been passed down throughout the generations, especially looking at this topic today. And Lou, thank you so much for that. Of course, I appreciate it very much. And so, something else that I would kind of like to talk about is looking, while still on the topic of cave systems, has to deal with Bigfoot. So first we're talking about goblins and dwarfs, these tiny entities, smaller entities living in caves and underground. But there's also been some very, very interesting stories of Bigfoot doing similar things to where they are traveling through cave systems, getting them from point A to point B and being incredibly stealthy. What do you think about that? Do you think those stories have merit behind it, or are they just opening up portals in tree trunks and then walking through it like it's nobody's business?
No, they understand, they get it. They would know about these underground networks in the Pacific Northwest. Cristina, I think this is a very important subject. In the Pacific Northwest, which is dotted with volcanoes, and with that comes lava tubes. And these mountain ranges are connected via lava tubes that are dormant today, but the tubes themselves are an interconnecting cave system. So if you are indigenous to the area, and that also goes with the indigenous tribes and cultures, but a cryptid, another species that is trying to hide, you are going to have an underground network. And you might even you might have signs, right? An arrow pointing, don't go that way, go this way, right? You would understand that underground network. I've 100% the ability to appear and disappear, right? And we don't, you're underground. That just makes perfect sense. This is not anything new, right? That's it. That's it. You head underground and look at any of the animal kingdom that lives underground. That's where they go for safety. That's where they go to hide. You can't be seen. Birds of prey flying around. You're underground. You're safe, right? That's what you would do. And you would do that to hide from humans. If you're Bigfoot, absolutely, 100%. And they would know that is their highway system.
And it's so significant with looking at bases underground, entities living underground, cave systems, even, is that the CIA did recruit remote viewers to do a deeper dive into this, known as Project 8200 or 8200. And it launched back in the 1970s, where they were looking at, and specifically we're talking about Pat Price and Joseph McMoneagle, where they're looking at places in Australia, in Mount Hayes, in Alaska, in Spain, in Zimbabwe, where in reality they are following the legends and they're saying, okay, there has to be something to this. Let's take a deeper look. And getting information from these remote viewers, they came across some rather interesting information, especially when dealing with Alaska. What are some things that they found, Jimmy?
Well, okay. Here, the not only did they find a lot, but when you go back into the media and you start to look at what they were finding versus what is being reported out there and talked about, and is it I was with Paul Smith over the weekend, who worked with McMoneagle, and he was part of Stargate and one of the great remote viewers ever, and he's a really cool dude. I think he still works for the CIA. That's another story. But anyway, their accuracy is crazy. But the other part about it is, do they know everything about everything? Right? Do they know? Are they able to fake it? They don't. And then you turn around and you cross-reference the information that they're revealing about underground systems, of how the pyramids were built, up to Mars, looking at Mars, and everything gets confirmed later. That's fascinating. And one of the things they talked about was Los Angeles. And now I am going to pull up. Are you ready? Okay, I'm going to show this to everybody. I'm going to show you one of the craziest things that you will ever see. All right? This is the Los Angeles Times from 1934. This is the L.A. Times front page. Okay? Now, let's scroll down here a little bit. And there's an article on the front page that says, Lizard People's Catacomb City hunted. Okay? Engineer seeks shaft under Fort Meade. Now. Let's take this one step further. There it is. Okay? January 29th, 1934. Lizard People's Catacomb City hunted. Busy engineer seeks a shaft under Fort Moore Hill to find maze of tunnels and priceless treasures of legendary inhabitants. All right. Now, this right here discloses the processes of how they found the tunnels and how they started mapping them. Okay. Now, are you ready? This is not. This is the Los Angeles Times, everybody. And when the city of Los Angeles in 1934 was bustling, things were starting to take off. Hollywood, you can't show that picture. Pull that down, young lady. What are you doing? You can't do that. You can't jump ahead. You can't.
While people
because
are listening
that's my next image. Okay.
Go back to the last image, to the last one that you just showed. Okay. For those that are listening to Jimmy speak and attempting to read the newspaper at the exact same time, see if you can point out one wrong thing with this newspaper. Let's see who has the eyes. Like, where's Waldo? All right. Who can find the one error in this newspaper? That's definitely worth mentioning. But this is actually a really interesting case from the 1930s. And obviously, it needs to be spoken about when talking about those that live underground, those that live beneath. And Jimmy, I'm gonna give the rest to you. I apologize for stepping on you.
What's wrong with this article? I gotta know.
She just graduated from university. She's amazing. People is spelled wrong.
Oh no, that's French.
Is it? But everything else is in English.
I'm kidding. But you bought it there for a second.
I did. I was a bit confused.
So anyway, back then in 1934, downtown Los Angeles City Hall is being built. You know, things are starting to take off, and it's becoming a real city. So one of the things that they wanted to do was a subway system. They needed to build tunnels. Cars were starting to become used more. Remember, this is 1934. So you had road systems and in downtown Los Angeles had a couple of hills. One of them was called Bunker Hill, and Fort Moore Hill, which eventually got leveled off. But they started digging underground, and they find these caves. And then this map, which is from another article. This is a map, and this is downtown Los Angeles. And cement steps to Sunset Boulevard, right? School, look, gold, tunnel, gold. And some of the street names of downtown Los Angeles, which are still there, Broadway, right? North Broadway. These are still here. And this is the tunnel system that was uncovered underneath Los Angeles. And now look at this. Did strange people live under sight of Los Angeles 5,000 years ago? And now this, when I dug in, now you can go, I would suggest everybody in the audience do this. You can go and search this. Go and look at the amount of information that is out there on this subject about the lizard people living underneath Los Angeles. It's crazy. And there used to be a TV show here called California's Gold, and on PBS, and it was a great show. And so I never missed it. And I see the episode on the lizard people. And I'm 20 years old, right? I'm like 21, 22. I was like, lizard people underneath Los Angeles. And I saw the whole thing. And it is part of Los Angeles. And so when we go and we talk about Turkey or China, these different places around the world that have these underground structures and underground cities, it's not just that. We have it right here in North America. It is absolutely crazy, absolutely nuts.
Something else to add to this while we're on the topic of underground cities and tunnels and Los Angeles is that Elon Musk is doing an underground roadway system in Las Vegas, and some parts are open already. And he does plan to dig in LA. But right now, given the seismic activity in LA, I wouldn't want to go down there, and we'll see if he comes across any problems attempting to continue his project there. Because let's just have a little fun here. Let's say he does dig a tunnel in LA and it all goes super successful and he comes across this city. What then? The world will have so many questions. But on top of that, would that information even become public if true?
Okay. So this is what happened with that. And then we'll move on. But I live here. And so
I live here too.
Where SpaceX,
I live here, and you live there.
right. Where SpaceX is in Hawthorne. So he starts the Boring Company. That's what it's called. And he builds the equipment to make these tunnels. And what LA didn't know at the time was dude was already digging tunnels. And so he had gone down a certain depth and went, I think he dug a tunnel, I think it was about a mile long. And I think Los Angeles itself and the city planners were a little bit freaked out about it. And he's testing the equipment. I don't know what made him stop. Okay. I don't think Los Angeles stopped him, but he did stop the tunnel project on his own underneath Los Angeles. And he was heading north, by the way. So the tunnel that he did dig was going north out of Hawthorne underneath Culver City and was headed towards Bel Air. There's a mountain in the way, but nonetheless, you're right about the tunnel system that he's got going on in Las Vegas. That is ongoing. We don't know what Elon is doing underneath Los Angeles. We just know that he dug that one tunnel officially about a mile long. Now, and I just wanted to add that is technology that exists today. But if we back up, I want to talk about a few locations around the world that are absolutely fascinating. And for me, now talk about claustrophobia. I've got issues with Darren Kuyu. And Darren Kuyu, which is one of the most famous underground cities in the world, it's in Turkey. It extends 300 feet underground. Okay. That's a lot of footage. It's large enough for 20,000 people to live together with their livestock and food stores. It's multiple levels. They've got air shafts. It's the largest excavated underground city in Turkey, and Turkey's got a lot of them, by the way, and could be closed. Darren Kuyu could be closed from the inside with round rolling doors that are still there, and you can see them, and they're thick and they're round, and the hallways are round. So these rolling doors from the inside, Cristina, blocking out the outside. Now, each floor could be closed off separately with these rolling doors. Now, you have to ask yourself, why? What was the reason for that? Was there evidence of war? Was there an invading army from another country, from another town? Was there a threat so great that they had to build this city underground? And by the way, the dating on it is funky, and the knowledge of it is funky. Okay, we don't know a whole lot. We just know that it exists. The way that it's laid out, which is 300 feet, it's got technically they call it 5 levels, but if you count, it's 12 because they're staggered and they go back and forth. Again, room for 20,000 people. It's like bomb proof, cataclysm proof. And from the side of the mountain that it's dug into, the village, there's a town that's there. But you turn around and look at the mountain, you would never know. You would never know that that is inside of that mountain. And again, you could seal it off from the inside, and nobody, these rolling doors are, they're like 10 feet tall and 3 feet thick. They're ginormous wheels that would roll into place, and nobody is getting through that. So what were they hiding from? What were they so concerned about to have that kind of defensive structure? Or was it another civilization that was living there and hiding from us?
I would hide from us.
Yeah. That point is well taken. And then we have, if that's not enough, are you ready? Turkey. Back to Turkey. This is called Mashiat. And Mashiat, it's Matiiate. You can look this up. It's another archaeological site underneath the town of Midyat in the Mardin province of Turkey. It was in use continuously for 2,000 years. 2,000 years. At its peak, it had been inhabited by 70,000 people. It is considered to be the largest cave system in the world. You should see the pictures. I mean, it's nice. It's really nice. It's nice. I'd live there. 330 feet of tunnels and 49 rooms so far have been unearthed, but only 3% has been discovered. That's incredible. And then you have this, and then I'll turn it over to you. I just want to share this last little one with you. You have Akakor. Okay, Akakor. Again, you can look it up. It's Akakor, Akakor. Now, this is the name of a mythic underground city located somewhere between Brazil, Bolivia, and Peru. Now, remember, all 3 countries intersect, so it's right there. Very close to Pumapunku. Dun, dun, dun. You ready? It was described by German journalist Karl Brugger based on interviews with the Brazilian native chieftain, and his name was Tatunka Nara, in his book, The Chronicle of Akakor. So go and look at that. Yes, there. Okay. Akakor is what was in, I want to get this correct, Indiana Jones when he was looking for the lost city of it just escapes me right now, but that's based on Akakor. El Dorado. And so, yeah, what's the basis to this? I keep saying this over and over again. Where there's smoke, there's fire, and there isn't a culture in the world that doesn't have these stories about people that were living underground. There isn't a culture or country on this planet that doesn't have an underground city, an ancient one. Everybody's got one, at least one. And then when we move into today, we have all of the modern underground cities, which again, in the United States, there's hundreds. Russia, China, every country in the world, they're building underground in Saudi Arabia. Every country is building underground. Most of Montreal in Canada, that's underground. You can, in the winter in Montreal, you don't even have to wear a coat. You've got 10 feet of snow outside, but you're in a tunnel system underground going from block to block under the city. Talk to anybody from Montreal, and they'll tell you. You park your car, Cristina, in Montreal. You've got your coat, your gloves, your hat, right? You go in to a coat check room underground. You check in your coat, and you're good to go. You can go anywhere you want. You can go to the Hard Rock restaurant. You can go do some shopping. Head all over downtown Montreal and never see the snow. It's all underground.
I'm gonna get a ticket right now.
Yeah. See,
that's super cool.
Not in Canada. I've never heard of any tunnels in Canada. You have not been to Montreal. In Toronto, the mall there on Yonge Street, that's underground. That's the biggest mall I've ever seen, and it's underground. Montreal, Billy. Yeah, it's crazy.
I'm there's the information about it now, and it's pretty crazy stuff.
It is. It's crazy. And I say this a lot. I don't like to speculate. I like to think and stuff. But when I present stuff like this, no, it's you can go and look it up for yourself. I've done it, or I have been there. It's absolutely fascinating.
Have you been to this underground Montreal shopping center?
100%. Okay, you ready?
What?
I'm staying at the La Montagne, this hotel in downtown Montreal, and my friend Andy. We're there in January. It's freezing cold, right? It's like colder than subspace next to the planet Venus, right? It's like literally minus 400 degrees outside. It's freezing. And so he calls my room and goes, "Okay, man, we're going to go to this restaurant." And I said, "Cool." He said, "I'll meet you in the lobby." I put on my coat, my gloves, my scarf, my hat. I'm all bundled up. And I get off the elevator, and there's Andy standing in the middle of the lobby with a T-shirt on. I go, "Dude, I thought we were going to go." He goes, "Man, we're going underground." I go, "What are you talking about?" We go across the lobby on everything that I love to stairs. There's stairs, and they're going down. And I'm following him. I'm like, what is going on? We go down, around the corner, up to a coat check room. I take my coat off, give it to my gloves. We go around, boom, and we go to a restaurant. We come out of that and go further in to a nightclub where we danced and drank all night. And then came back up. And so okay. Here's the funny ending to the story. End of the night, come back up, coat check room. And by the way, the coat check guy was from Los Angeles. He was a really cool dude. And I get my stuff. I go back up. We walk up out into the hotel lobby. I go up to my room and I put my stuff down. I went, oh, I left my credit card in the bar. So I walked back down, out into the lobby, over to the stairs. It was like out of a movie. Back down into this tunnel system, back by the coat check guy, wave at him, weave around through these tunnels into this nightclub, full on nightclub thing, and go up to the bar, get my credit card, back out through the tunnel system, back up into the hotel lobby, to the elevators, to my room. That's Montreal. Yeah.
And it seems like, well, with these kinds of stories and other locations across the world of towns underground or ancient towns underground, it seems that we're probably going to be going that way once again if we haven't already started, because there it's the same temperature. It's decently cool. You don't need air
Right.
conditioning. You don't need a
Right.
heater. It's a lot safer. And it's interesting that actually we haven't done it already. I mean, a more in the sense of across the world. And could it be because something is stopping us to do so? Are there really alien rays or
Right.
reptilians or these
Right.
alien bases underground that are stopping people to live underground, not necessarily with them, but in a more safe, protected area than being up on where we are now?
Just
The
think
top of
about
the
it.
ground.
Just think about it. Okay. All right. So you and I, we're spelunking. All right. We're in a cave system. We round the corner, and then it's like, okay, far enough. Okay, cool. Right. Nobody past this point. And, this is our world. This is our domain. There is, you brought up Appalachia and the Appalachian Trail. And I've been to the caves there. I've been to the Mammoth Caves. I've been to the Black Onyx Caves. The Mammoth Cave system. When I went there the first time, I read about it, and I've got the pamphlets, and I know what. I was not prepared for the size of going through there into these
No,
large chambers, and it's absolute. And I'm sorry to interrupt you. I this is part of living in that part of Tennessee, Gatlinburg, that area, is everybody's property there. Everybody that owns a house has a cave. It's like
well, the question is, are they sharing it with other entities? Because something else that I think we definitely have to bring up before we end today's show is the Dulce base, which is exactly the things that we're covering here. And while many people are familiar with that, I bet there are a few newbies that are like, what's the Dulce base? And that location really brings in the topics of aliens, greys, reptilians, people doing things underground, having an entire lab underground. And the thing we have to ask ourselves is, if that is true, is it happening across the world? Are there dozens? Are there hundreds of these types of alien bases that are literally just right under our nose? Is that why? Is that possibly why we don't like to investigate underground cave systems? Why we don't dig so deep? Not only because sometimes our equipment can't handle it, but because of situations like these. Jimmy, what is the Dulce base?
Yeah, Dulce Base in New Mexico, Dulce Mountains, not that far from Kirkland Air Force Base, right? Albuquerque, that area. The Dulce Base, which got its public side revealed in the 1980s, and there were quite a few different UFO researchers that started to look into this area. And now there were sightings, and there were some other things that were happening, and some pretty notable people involved. But that's beside the point. It was when a couple of researchers started to talk about, and Schneider was one, of a confrontation that occurred underground. And what we were doing some digging, and we were doing this, and we penetrated an alien base, and we descended into it. And when that happened, now there was talk about smells and things, and why, that there was an opening that was penetrated, and what was there, the air came up, and so we knew that there was something else there that wasn't supposed to be there, and possibly with life. So anyway, so we descend down, and we go toe to toe with an alien race that was living underground, and we went down armed, and they didn't like that, and that's when the shootout happened, and the confrontation happened, armed confrontation, and some Marines had lost their lives. Now, when it comes to Dulce and the truth behind it, where's the entrance? Why don't we know more about it? A couple of the witnesses, Schneider being one, these people died. And Schneider, who his videos are very rare. There's only a couple of his presentations that are still online, and you can go and watch them. He was disabled. Okay, so he got shot with a ray gun, and the damage to his body, he has shown it publicly. It's gnarly. His fingers are shot off. He's got like one finger on each hand, kind of thing, and he was in a wheelchair, and he was found while speaking on the conference circuit about Dulce Base, suicided in his motel room with surgical tubing around his throat. He didn't have fingers to do this, right? And he was his life was good, and the police report and everything else was that he killed himself by strangulation. He didn't have fingers to do that. So that's the part when we're talking about Dulce Base and this. Well, it's Dulce, but it's other locations too as well. How many of these are out there? And when somebody goes public, that was part of, allegedly, I should say, that was part of the engineering effort to dig these tunnels and to do these things and have this confrontation. He decides to go public with it, and then he just dies in a motel room while speaking on a conference tour by suicide, and with no investigation. So yeah, there's something to it. Always where there's smoke, there's fire, Cristina.
Yes, and then you also have the people that include Paul Benowitz and Richard Doty. And Richard Doty was a disinformation agent at the time. You've spoken to him on multiple occasions.
Mhm.
And of course, you've asked him about Dulce Base. And so, what is his response to that? And can we even believe his response?
Well, Paul Benowitz, again, there was many people that were involved in this, and Paul Benowitz was one. Paul Benowitz, Richard Doty was stationed at Kirkland Air Force Base when all of this goes down. So Paul Benowitz, who was he was part of the UFO community, and he was going to conferences and stuff, but he was also in the aviation industry, and he had contracts with the United States Air Force, and his company was across the street from the entrance to Kirkland Air Force Base there in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And so Paul gets in an airplane and is flying around Dulce and looks out the window and sees what he said was a crashed disc on the ground. He sees it, and he goes back and he maps it out, and he goes public with this. and he flies back, and he flies back. I think now there are other researchers that have looked into this. It gets a little murky, but he goes back and it's gone. It's gone. So again, there's a lot of research out there, and if I've got any of this wrong, there are so many different versions of this story that are out there. But certainly, Paul Benowitz spoke about this enough publicly that these parts of the story, I think, are based on fact, and that started Paul on part of his research, not only about the Dulce base. Now, Phil Schneider came out independent of Paul Benowitz. It's both about Dulce, but two different experiences and two different time frames. And I don't even know if Phil Schneider knew who Paul Benowitz was, or if he would have heard Paul's story about flying over Dulce base. So anyway, yeah, absolutely incredible part of this where somebody like Phil Schneider, when you look at the videos of Phil around the time that he died, was that a guy that was suicidal? No, that was a guy that was animated, full of life, and anxious to get his story told. And it went beyond Dulce too as well. It did. He was definitely exposing the dark side of the United States government and Black programs, for sure. Not only in the United States, but on an international scale. He was a controversial figure. But when you see somebody like Phil Schneider, and then you turn around and you see how he died, read the police report, read the newspaper articles about this, and talk to the people that were around him when this went down. And I've had those guests on my show, and we've talked about it. It was shocking. It was absolutely shocking. He was suicided for sure. He did not kill himself. I just don't believe that that's he didn't have the capabilities to do this. And I'm not being cavalier when I say he had one finger on it. He didn't have the ability to tie a surgical tubing around him and tie it into a knot and kill himself. He couldn't. He didn't have the ability to do that. Somebody did it to him.
The Dulce base story, the case, the entire fiasco, because it's a several month thing with Paul Benowitz, with Richard Doty, with Phil Schneider, and with a few other people like the security guard Thomas Castello, I believe, and a few others that have all spoken out about this. And we've done an entire show on the Dulce base. For those that aren't familiar with it, you can find it right here on this channel. And before you head out, please make sure to put your votes in and hit that like button right now. We have 541 people watching this live. We have 434 votes, and here are the answers. So the question is, do you think there are places around the world deep underground where aliens or NHIs have outposts? Right now, 68% say yes, 8% say no, 11% say yes, outposts and large populations, and 13% say undecided. Jimmy, where are you in this?
It's going on. It's going on. If you go back, I'm in the 70 percentile, just to let you know. I'm in the 70 percentile group there. Maybe 8 years ago, on Fade to Black, I had a guest on who lived near Gatlinburg in Tennessee, Smoky Mountains, and on their property, in the back half of the property, he's seeing trolls, right? Seeing little people running around in the back of his yard. And he was, surprised. I'll say that. They had just moved into the house. And now they had lived in the neighborhood, right? In the town. So they get this new house. So finally, he's like, man, who's poking around on my property? And he goes and he sees one and he runs to the back of the property, chases it into the tree line, and it runs into a cave. And the cave was on his property, the entrance to the cave. He never went in. But that's what he saw. He saw a little person run into a cave. Now, I don't know. I'm not there. Do I go into the cave? No, I don't. I'm not going to do that. And neither did he. But I always thought that was a pretty fascinating story. And he had said that their previous house also had a cave in the backyard, and that their neighbors. So when I had said earlier, if you live in that area of Gatlinburg, Black Onyx Cave and Mammoth Cave, the cave system is interconnected, and it runs all along that section of the country. It's huge. It's a big, large complex, and it is interconnected. So there you go. If you are Cristina, a couple of thousand years ago, you need shelter, you're going to live underground, right?
I am Cristina.
That's what I just said.
Yeah, you said, if you are Cristina, and then you finished, but I am Cristina.
Yeah. If you are Cristina 2,000 years ago, and you need a place to hang out, and it's yes, Cristina, another amazing show. I just love it. How many likes did we get today? How many likes did you get?
No, it's a we thing, and I can tell you right now. Hold on, let me refresh it just to make sure. 311. So hit that like button before you head out. We have 500 people watching this live. Jimmy, thank you so much for being on the show, as you are almost every single Thursday. Who do you have on today for Fade to Black?
Eric Altman. You know what we're doing? We're doing this show tonight.
No.
Yeah, we're doing Bigfoot and cryptids that live underground.
Nice.
No, I made that up, but it sounded good, didn't it? It sounded good. Yeah, we're doing Bigfoot tonight. We're doing Bigfoot. I'll see you tonight on the show. Thank you, everybody. It's so good to be back.
Good to see you. Jimmy likes to make fun of me on these shows. Like I'm the fool here, making little jokes, but it's totally okay. And he's like nodding in the background. He's like, heck yeah, that's what I do best. It's like the dad jokes. It's the dad vibe. That's really what it is with Jimmy. If you enjoyed the show, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, because tomorrow is going to be strangest news of the week. Hit the notification bell so you do not miss it. And before you head out, scan this QR code if you are watching this on your computer or laptop. It'll take you to all of my social media links, including my website at strangeparadigms.com, where you can find everything you need. And I also write articles for all of the shows right here. And there's so much more on there for you to enjoy. That is it for today. I will see you tomorrow. Be safe. And remember, keep your eyes on the skies. If you enjoy the strange and the mysterious, UFOs, the paranormal, and cryptids, this channel is for you. So make sure to subscribe, as I do 3 videos right here every single week, and hit that notification bell so you do not miss any of the bonus content I post right here.